Evening, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? So today was an interesting day. I took one long, one short, as you could figure, or maybe you took a long and you won. A scalp long. I could see it. I saw something, but I took one L, one W, and here's the P&L for the day. Right from the next uh, eval hit the 1K and then ended the day 200 in profit. Um, so yeah, that's the P&L for the day. Here are my executions. You can see the first long right on M&Q. First long, boop, got stopped out like immediately. I had my stop at the bottom of that candle. And we'll go over the trades and what I was seeing and all that here in a second. And then a short, it just played out. Um, it took a while. I want to say like an hour maybe. I can't exactly remember, but we'll go over it. And yeah, in terms of my context, previous day's range stat was bullish. We made new all-time highs. I think in the overnight, yeah, but we were making new all-time highs yesterday. Um, so yeah, and the daily candle was printing red by the time we were looking at pre-market. So I'm like, cool, maybe we could look for longs. Things are looking good for longs. True day open was kind of in the middle of the range. I considered it to be irrelevant, um, and we were opening very close to it. So yeah, I thought, you know what, we're probably not gonna get anything with true day open. Um, but yeah, um, it looked like we were expecting a 4 hour fair value gap, which overlaps with a 1 hour fair value gap and a support zone, which is this zone right here, which is just a low volume node and a bunch of 15-minute fair value gaps. Um, we had an SMT with Asia lows, so right here. We had an SMT right here. Because NQ swept Asia lows, and if you put them side by side, you'll notice ES didn't, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at first. I kind of like keeping ES a little on the side. I don't like having like a cluttered space to look at price action. Because if I zoom out, I want to be able to see what's going on. So yeah, just I think I mentioned this before how I kind of just like to see how ES is behaving, not so much as like a lot of people don't rely a lot on ES. A lot of people have to like to have them exactly side by side. A lot of people don't even look at it and just kind of glance at it every now and then, like they hop in between both charts. But this is my personal preference. I just have it a little bit on the side to kind of see if it's hit the draws, to see look for SMTs and all that. But anyways, initially I was favoring longs because of the all-time high context. Whenever we're making the all-time highs, we usually keep pushing all-time highs. We also had the support zone holding. We had an SMT in there. So yeah, I was favoring longs, and overnight had been ranging. So I like it's kind of rangy. I mean, I guess you could see Asia as a bear trend, London as a bear trend, but like pre-market was ranging. That's what I should have said truly. So I could expect um, market open to manipulate lower and then take longs from there. So yeah, that's kind of what it looked like at first. So that's my context for the longs, and then I'll get over how I ended up flipping bias into shorts. Um, so off open, this is what we got. Um, I failed to see that we were holding overnight VWAP. We're just because we tested it here once. You can see there's another retest once, twice, maybe there's another retest 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then we're space over. So maybe you took an entry here. You're like, oh, we're like right there at true day, and we're gonna, sweep it strongly or displace through it, which is what happened. So if you took a short at this wick, then you caught the high of New York, basically. So yeah, because I know Jaren, he's one of my mentors. I know he caught that. He caught the higher day um, on NQ, so pretty nice. But yeah, kind of wanted to wait out the first few minutes of market open, obviously. But yeah, to me at first, it looked like we were just manipulating towards this um, 1 hour intermediate low. Um, and I think I was looking for something to happen. And then we got this. Like, it was just strong bullish momentum. What I failed to see here, right? And what could have helped me avoid the first loss. Well, I didn't fail to see it because I did see it, but I didn't want it to hold. Is ES actually swept Asia and London high? You can see it right here. It swept it right off open. So this first candle, the first 5 minute candle off open, swept Asia highs and London highs. If I saw that, well, if I accepted that as like, you know what, we're probably going to trade lower, then I would have probably been able to take this. Um, I guess what was not, I was kind of hesitating on was the fact that we didn't really have any clear draws or significant draws on liquidity other than like these two fair value gaps, but we also had to work through this low volume node, which is a 30-minute fair value gap, and this other low volume node, which is a bigger zone. Um, so I was kind of like reluctant to take shorts, but you'll see how I flip here in a second. Um, but yeah, um, after this, I think we got a resweep of this. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, this is where I took a long. So it was off of this inversion. So we get this 3 minute IFEG, and it was a strong candle. So this candle itself, 30 points, right? So I'm like, cool. We've recovered above London low, which I don't think I noted at the time, but I'm like, we're heavily respecting this. We re-swept the initial low that we put in the 3 minute inside this 30 minute FEG. And let me see what was my exact execution, if I can find it, right here. Obviously, ended up getting stopped out, but 306 was my stop. So I entered, well, 306 was my entry. And I actually entered before the candle closed because I saw a lot of failed selling, and I'll show you here in a second what that looked like when I saw it. But this was my entry. This was, I was starting all-time highs. I figured we could rip from here. Um, we also swept Asia and London low on ES, so I'm like, cool. Maybe this is the manipulation leg that we're looking for, but truly the manipulation leg was up here. We SMT'd it, and I just didn't realize it, or didn't really like, saw it as this is the manipulation leg, and I failed to see that ES was actually holding these 3 minute gaps and not inverting them. So that's probably something that I could have noticed as well. When I was heavy into inversions, I would focus on if both indices are presenting the same fair value gap, and I'm looking for an inversion. I would like to see both indices invert that fair value gap. Like, I was very strict on if one of them doesn't invert it, then I won't take it. Like, I was strict on that, but I've obviously like kind of switch my entry confirmation to be more order flow oriented rather than just inversions. And mainly because of the RR. I felt like the RR was messing with me, but yeah. Oh shoot, that's not what I meant to do. This was my entry. Stop at this low because I figured if I put my stop all the way down here, that's a 50-point stop. Not even good RR. I mean, it is positive RR technically, but I didn't like it. Yeah, I enter this, and then I'll show you really quick. No, that's a low volume node. That's not what I want to see. This. I saw failed selling here. So I could have taken it closer to the wick when I saw this failed selling and buyers actually breaking out. We were making a lower low on the CVD. They make a lower low on the, what's it called? We made a lower low both in price and the CVD, and then we started just recovering. Once I saw CVD recovering and buyers breaking out of that, I could have probably entered. So my entry would have probably been closer to here, but I wanted to wait a bit longer. I I don't know. It's hard for me to trust failed buying as a entry confluence if it's not in alignment with a lot of other things. And the only other thing we had was this 30-minute fair value gap, and the low volume node. But yeah, um, we also had a 5-minute gap over here, which I'm actually gonna mark out with this very small 5-minute gap. No, actually, it's not that small, but we'll mark it out here. Um, and I want to mark it out, and you'll see here why here in just a second. Um, so this is a 5-minute FVG, and yeah, I mean the 5-minute was looking good on ES at this point, but we have the 5-minute, we have VWAP, POC, and these highs, and then the upper VWAP. So we have a few things to recover from. We're breaking above New York VWAP. We're breaking above the lower VWAP band. So like it was looking good at first, but then I immediately get stopped out, and you can see we did tap that 5-minute gap and overnight VWAP. If you zoom in here, right there, let me see if I can, right here. Ooh, right there, we tapped the VWAP and we tapped overnight VWAP and we tapped the 5-minute gap. That was my sign to go break even. That's in hindsight, but it was also something that happened really fast. Like, I think it shows on Bookmap actually how fast it was. Yeah, this is the wick that tapped that overnight VWAP and 5-minute fair value gap, and then we immediately, like, heavy seller just immediately came in, and that actually ended up being my reason for shorting. But I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, this failed immediately. I might just have the wrong bias. Um, so once I saw at this point, I think I was looking at the 5-minute for my entry. I can't remember exactly. Let me see if I can find it really quick. So it's this one. It is on the 5-minute. So we'll switch back to the 5-minute, and then I was like, okay, well, at this point, actually, before this, at this point, I noticed we put in an internal low volume node off of this. Um, and I'll get the exact coordinates here in just a second. So it's 294.25. 294.25. And it was like here. Let me see. Sorry, that's just taking a second for me. 288.50. So it's 288.50. So that's a very small low volume node. But this is what I was looking at. You can even remove London low because we're just displacing through it. And at this point, we're closing in on that 10 a.m. open, right? And you could see this as potentially becoming a resistance zone and just a support zone that's getting flipped. So yeah, it's kind of what I was looking at here. And I'm trying to think, there was something else. So I noticed with respect to VWAP, right? This is when my flipping bias comes in. I said, price actually made an SMT with Asia highs and London highs because he had swept them, but NQ didn't. I ended up realizing that we just continued to displace lower and inverted the 1 hour and 4 hour FVGs. So that's why I was saying, be mindful that we're closing in on that 10 a.m. open because that is an hourly close into an hourly open and a 4-hour close into a 4-hour open. Okay, so a 1 hour candle closes and a new one opens, and then a 4-hour close, a 4-hour candle closes and a new one opens. So a lot of people care a lot about time-based entries. and I take that in mind at times, because at times it does present a lot of great opportunities. I believe this was one of those opportunities. Okay, so here is where I took my entry. I can actually look at the exact entry point if I can find it here. It was 27850, and I entered in the formation of this candle, if I'm not mistaken, because this candle was the one that ended up retesting the low volume node. So we'll just go over. So it's 25 27850. So short 27850. Entry wasn't the best in terms of in relation to the low volume node, and yeah, um, I think this ended up being my target, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this was my entry. Um, we'll extend it to like 12. I think that's good enough. But if you see bookmap, in terms of what I was seeing, we saw the low volume node form, right? You can kind of see a bit of low volume here, but if you zoomed in and only looked at like that portion of price action, like where we displaced, there was like a zero print. It was like very low volume. I'm like, I would expect this seller to defend because we're just displacing lower, and if I'm wrong with longs, this is my opportunity to enter shorts, and we saw failed buying here. We saw a failed participation. Obviously, we get that initial retest, but we get this failed participation on the last candle of the hour. Then we get this kind of iffy indecisive candle. Then we get, some momentum. We're respecting New York VWAP. We're sustaining below it. We're sustaining below the lower VWAP end. So we wait and wait and wait. And then I think, at this point, no, it's in the next candle. Yeah. At this point, we have now set our IB high and our IB low. And if you notice, we actually set our IB low second. What does that mean for us? There's a higher probability of us breaking the IB low first, and if that does end up happening, there's a statistical value that corresponds to each fib extension. Okay? So, I was targeting the 0.3. I think initially I was looking at the 45-minute IB, which is down here, and I was targeting the 0.4 or the 0.3 there. Yeah, I think I was initially targeting the 0.4, and then I was targeting the 0.3 of the 1 hour IB, because I figured, they're relatively close. The 1 hour IB is usually stronger, blah blah blah. So at this point, it was just a matter of waiting. We get our break. I was confident here, and then I think this one got us out. So pretty solid in terms of just execution in general, and we can look at our executions to kind of give you an idea of what I was looking at. So this is the first trade. That's my entry. I'm in there, looking at numbers. See how we first tap that VWAP, and then we tap the fair value gap and immediately reject from it. That's what got me out. So that was my first trade, and then the second trade is the one that takes a bit of longer time. I was looking to enter. I knew there was a low volume node there. Then I'm seeing failed buying, and then that's where I entered. Shit entry. Stop loss was okay. It was at the wick that respected the overnight VWAP. I put my stop loss there. Initially, I didn't have any targets. I was just like, I did feel myself get emotional, and that's on me. So I was like, what do I want to do, right? Like, I was just trying to recover a loss. Like, I did a good job objectively in terms of flipping bias, but like, I should have kept myself more calm in order to just find targets, right? because there's no need to freak out about not having targets. That's one of the reasons. Like at first, I was freaking out about not having targets, but if you think about it, I was also looking at a fib there, um, calculating how much I was actually risking. I realized on both trades I actually risked more than I wanted to, but it wasn't that big of a difference. I think it was my initial risk is like 200. My risk today was like between 280 and 300, so not too bad. It is a pretty uh, significant difference, at least in my opinion. But yeah, it just kind of took a while to. Um, that's when I flipped that zone into a resistance zone. Um, I said I'm not liking that CVD is the lowest it has been all session, and we're not breaking the lows. Immediately after I say that, we break the lows, so I just deleted that. Um, then we get that rejection. Then I'm like, okay, we're still holding that upper lower V up end. We might actually, because when I was seeing this candle form, I'm like, I don't want to see this close bullish. If we do, I want to see the next one be very, very, very bearish, and that's what ended up happening. Like it closed bullish, and the next one's bearish. Like it immediately reversed the entire candle, and then the next one was pretty strong. So I think my first trail was when we broke IB low. No, it was when. Oh, okay. When I saw the CVD was the lowest it's ever been, that's when I first adjusted my stop to the body of the candle that respected the overnight VWAP. And then I think I trailed some more. Maybe here? Yeah, when we first hit that first extension, um, I trailed my stop to the wick of the candle that respected the low volume node. So I was kind of trailing, and then I think I just held it here, and I was just wanted to hold the target. Yeah, we hit our final target there. So, lessons to learn from today: be quick to know when you're just straight up wrong. Like your trade idea is wrong, your bias is wrong, and be quick to accept that. Don't linger on the idea of like, oh, I was wrong and I lost, blah blah blah. If there's opportunity to take a trade to the opposite side of your original idea and it makes sense, it goes according to your plan, you have confluences in your favor, you have context, you have a good location, you have good confirmation, you have good stop loss placement, maybe a decent entry. I feel like my entry here was decent, it wasn't excellent. My stop loss placement was good, not the best. I think it makes sense in my head, but I feel like it could have also been tighter. But that's just hindsight. Obviously, I saw that it never tapped the body of the candle that respected the overnight VWAP, so that's just hindsight speaking. I feel like the most logical point to put your stop loss is that wick. It's just getting a better entry, and then having good targets. That's one of the things that I failed in, having good targets at first, because I hadn't marked out these fair value gaps at first. You saw that I marked them out in the process of being in the trade because I didn't know where to target. I just wanted to like target a 1 to 2 or something better. I ended up getting a 1 to 1.61. So still positive RR, but not the best. But yeah, I also noticed like halfway through the trade that this gap ended up getting inverted with the closure of the 1 hour candle. And then looking at the 4 hour, this first 4 hour gap ended up getting disrespected with the open of the 10 a.m. candle. So, yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that could have been better. It just wasn't. It's all good. I'm not gonna dwell on it. I feel like I did a good job in accepting that I was wrong and flipping my bias quickly and just looking at it for a good opportunity. And Price gave it to me like immediately after proving me wrong with longs. Um, so yeah, that's one of the things that I think I wrote down in my notes. I feel like I did a good job in quickly realizing that I was wrong and just flipping bias. Um, and yeah, I think another thing that I could say about the stop loss placement was this makes sense to me, putting the stop at the wick. or sorry, at the body, because it's above the low volume node. You have failed buying up here. You don't want buyers to get rewarded here. Um, so it would make sense if you're expecting a low volume node to hold, you wouldn't want it to get past it, right? So yeah, and then I think yeah, funny enough, if you zoom in, the top of the low volume node that I had marked out was 294.25. The wick of the candle that respected it, 294.25. To the freaking tick, it respected that low volume node and then immediately sold off. Like it didn't even reach that point again. It retested the low volume node, sure, but it retested VWAP, barely tapped the low volume node, and then shit the bed. And I think it even continued lower. I could have held this if, I was confident on. Um, I think the loss kind of messed with me for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, you could have held it here for the 0.5 for a better R. Maybe like you could have held it for the next 1 hour for gap, but no, I just wanted to recover my loss. I wanted to end the day green, and I realized, okay, this target helps me do both of those things. So I figured I'm gonna just take it all off at the 0.3. Um, and I feel like the loss kind of got to me, and I realized that at the time, and I tried my best to not let it affect my decision making, and still be just conservative with my risk management. So that's why I just decided to take it off at this extension level and not target any lower. Yeah, I think that's all I can say. I feel like I did a decent job today at recovering my loss. Um, I feel like risk management could have been a bit better, right? It was just like probably like one contract difference. Like instead of doing 4 micros, do 3. Um, Entry on the short could have been better. Entry on both sides could have been better, honestly. And trade management on the long could have been quicker to adjust stops. Um, and yeah, I believe that is all I can say. And ended the day green still. Today, this has been a good week so far. Um, I think price action has been pretty good, pretty good. Just had to. It's just a matter of adapting quickly, really, because you gotta be okay with knowing and accepting that if you're wrong, flip your bias, like flip it, flip it, because you're gonna be wrong at times, and you just gotta accept that. Um, so yeah. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up trade review for today. Another day, another W, another day green. Got a initial loss, recovered it, and then some. So yeah, hopefully we can end up passing this eval. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Hopefully I can see you guys back again tomorrow with just one W, a single W. That's all I need. I don't want it to be too messy. But yeah, the market will bring whatever it wants to bring, and we'll try our best to, just perform. All right, guys. I'll catch y'all on the next one.